Good afternoon. I'd like to welcome everyone to the regular meeting of the Forsyth County Board of Commissioners on December the 4th, 2025. It's not December. Yes, it is. We're right. Never mind. I got it. We're going to begin our meeting with an invocation from Brooke Young, and she is from the Dwelling Church. And Brooke, I'll go ahead and invite you to come forward, and then followed by the Pledge of Allegiance led by Commissioner Woodbury. Please stand if you are able.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Deacon Brooke, and I serve as the Deacon for Advocacy, Education, and Development at the Dwelling. As we begin this meeting, I invite us to pause together and take a breath. Holy One, known to us by many names and in many traditions, we come before you united not by uniformity, but by shared longing for community where all can flourish, where no one is cast aside, where our common life is held with care. We give thanks for the privilege of responsibility of leadership, for the power not just to govern, but to serve, not just to decide, but to accompany. May the work done in this room today be rooted in compassion, not as a sentiment, but as an action, not as charity, but as solidarity. Remind us that our fates are bound together, that the health of our neighborhoods, the safety of our streets, the dignity of our housed and unhoused neighbors alike are not separate issues, but shared responsibility. Let us rise to the task of building a community where justice is not a dream deferred, but a daily practice, where belonging is not a privilege, but a birthright for all. Where the hungry are fed and where the weary are sheltered and every soul is called by name. Let us be a people who remember. What we are doing is for all of us, that we belong not to ourselves alone, but we belong to one another. And in that belonging lies our hope, our strength, and our future. Amen.
Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Brooke. Appreciated that. Citizens who are interested in participating in the public session portion of the meeting can do so by calling 336-422-1200. That number again is 336-422-1200, and you'll be placed on hold until the public session begins. And members of the audience who are interested in participating in the public session portion of the meeting, you just need to fill out a speaker card, which is right outside the door, and return it to our clerk at the end of the dais. The first item on the agenda is the election of chair and vice chair, and I'm happy to turn the meeting over to our county manager for the election of chair and vice chair.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and good afternoon, Commissioner, staff, and guests. We will now proceed with the election of the chair. The floor is now open for nominations. Is there a motion?
Yes, I would like to make a motion that Commissioner Don Martin remain chair of the board.
Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
I do have some discussion. I do want to say that today my remarks are grounded in my responsibility to the residents of Forsyth County and in my commitment to ensuring that this board is led with integrity, vision, and a spirit of service. Unfortunately, at this time, I cannot support the motion for this individual to be our chair. I think Forsyth County is navigating significant challenges, economic, educational, and social, that requires, in my opinion, steady, forward-thinking leadership. Effective leadership is not defined solely by title or tenure. It requires a clear vision for the future, a commitment to equity and decision-making, and the ability to work collaboratively with all members of this board. Unfortunately, I have not seen the level of leadership or long-term vision required to guide this county through the work ahead. Equally concerning is the consistent lack of basic collegial behavior that is essential for maintaining trust, respect, and productive dialogue among commissioners. I think a chair must be able to foster unity, not division, collaboration, not conflict. I think leadership demands the capacity to bring people together, to listen, to communicate respectfully, and to create an environment where every commissioner's voice is valued. Our community deserves a chair who models these qualities and who leads with an equitable mission that places our residents, regardless of zip code, background, or circumstances, at the center of our work. At this time, I do not believe the candidate before us embodies the leadership, the vision, the equitable focus, or collegial conduct that Forsyth County deserves from its chair. And so for those reasons, I will be voting no on this motion. Thank you.
Any further discussion? We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
That's 6-1. We will now proceed with the election of vice chair. The floor is now open for nominations. Is there a motion?
Madam Manager, I'd like to nominate Commissioner Gloria Whisenhunt.
Is there a second?
I'd like to second.
We have a second by Chair Martin and Commissioner Wilson. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. I'll turn it back over to you, Mr. Chair. Congratulations, Chairman Martin and Vice Chair Whisenhunt.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you very much. Thanks to all of you for your support. The next item on the agenda is a resolution adopting the Board of Commissioners meeting schedule for 2026. And we actually have two options that have been presented. Option 1 follows the current meeting schedule. It includes one nightly meeting per quarter. The second option is identically the same, but it includes one nightly meeting per month. Is there a motion for option 1 or option 2?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to move adoption of option 2, the monthly evening meetings.
And I second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Bessie, second by Commissioner McDaniel. Discussion.
Yes, so I think I probably, maybe Gordon is not there. I wanted to, of course, put back on the table that our meetings obviously be all during the evening versus the times that have been proposed in our agenda here. So I'm not sure if at this time in discussion that I could put that forth and we vote that up or down and then go into what is on the floor. But I did want to put back again on the table that we have our meetings in the evening time.
If you'd like to make a substitute motion to that effect, you
Yes,
may
sir,
do so.
I do. I would like to make a substitute motion to have our meetings, of course, during the evening time at 6 o'clock.
Is there a second to that motion?
I will second with discussion.
All right, discussion.
Yes, so I'd like to say since 2018, I offered to have meetings on a monthly basis, and seeing the composition of this board, it's been very taskful. However, throughout the years, I know that we've had an opportunity to have our meetings quarterly, and I appreciate that. So knowing what the outcome will be today, I'd rather try than not try at all. So if it surpasses, I'm grateful. If not, we'll just be voting on the other option. So thank you.
And I appreciate Commissioner McDaniel's point of, if we're moving in the right direction, then it may be slower than what we, at least some of us, would hope for as it relates to getting our meetings primarily or all at the evening hour. I think one of our citizens came up and expressed how out of the 100 counties, about 97 or 98 do meet during the evening times because it truly represents, I think, our willingness to invite the public to be a part of this process. And I know that some of us here do have work schedules that we're trying to navigate, but most importantly, it's about making sure that as many of our citizens as possible can participate. I do think that being on the quarterly schedule has created even some confusion around which meeting is at 6 o'clock. So even in our attempt to have a forward-thinking response to moving to the evenings, it became a little confusing to our citizens. So, ideally, if this option doesn't pass, then moving towards more of a monthly schedule may, obviously give us more meetings, but also it could be less confusing.
Are you withdrawing your motion, or you're leaving your motion for everyone, and we have a second, so we need to vote on that first? Yes?
Yes. I'd just like to say that I respect my colleagues' thoughtful recommendation as an alternative motion. I will not be voting in support for a couple of reasons. First, I think that the monthly meetings will give us the opportunity to hold the substantive public hearing items that are most often of interest to the public, such as zoning cases that affect them, their families, their neighborhoods individually, and the, major budgetary questions, for example. I think that the monthly meetings do provide sufficient opportunity to do that, that I think that it is a reasonable opportunity for the public to come and comment in person, regardless of whether they work second shift jobs or first shift jobs. There are times during the month that they can come that meet with their work schedule. And the by holding the public hearings during the evening meeting hours on a monthly basis, that provides the most opportunity for the most people. The second reason is that, honestly, government is a matter of negotiation and compromise. I believe that we have 4 votes for the monthly meetings. I do not believe we're going to get 4 votes or more for them for all meetings, including the briefing sessions.
Any further discussion? We'll vote on the substitute motion, which was to hold all meetings in the evening. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
And those opposed?
No.
No. And if I heard that correctly, 2 to 5? So motion fails. Now we're back to the option 2 motion from Commissioner Bessie, seconded by Commissioner McDaniel. Any further discussion? Commissioner Bessie has spoken. Other discussion?
Well, I would just like to say that I will not be voting in favor of this motion, and the reason why is that this is the second time that in recent years that we've changed the time. I haven't been able to see a difference in the crowds except for budget, and we did agree to have the budget hearings at 6 o'clock. Another time that I have seen folks here is during zonings, and so I would be willing to meet at 6 o'clock when we have zonings. But other than that, I haven't seen a huge crowd unless they're running for office. And they repeat the same thing each meeting. So I would like to offer a substitute motion that we continue to meet at 6 o'clock for our budget hearings, and we'll meet at 6 o'clock when we have zoning hearings. And that's my substitute motion.
I would second that, but simply ask for clarification. Basically, the meeting schedule would stay the same, and then in a given month that we had a zoning request, then we would actually have a 6 o'clock meeting for the rezoning. And there is a little difference between rezoning and public hearings. We have some public hearings that are not rezonings. Are you referencing rezonings only?
Only.
Second that motion for rezonings only, to meet in the evening at 6 o'clock on a date to be scheduled once the hearing is ready to be done.
Correct.
If I may
Discussion
ask-
of that substitute motion.
Yeah, if I can ask Commissioner Wisenhut, would the quarterly meeting still be intact?
What's what?
The quarterly evening meeting still be intact, along with your motion?
No.
Okay, fair enough. Thank you.
Was that a yes or no?
No, but she
It
said
would
no.
not, it would not include
That is
quarterly
correct.
meetings.
Correct.
Okay.
In their motion, you're not including the quarterly meetings in it, and adding the, whenever there's zoning.
I'm saying that we have a 6 o'clock meeting when we have the budget hearing, as we do now, and then when we have a zoning hearing.
And not the quarterly.
No.
Commissioner Bessie.
Again, I respect my colleague's thoughtful recommendation, but I oppose the substitute motion. I believe that there is great value in clarity and some simplicity, and simply going with one meeting a month as our evening meeting, and then taking that as the opportunity to schedule public hearings is a clearer, simpler, easier for the public to understand and follow option. And I respectfully request that my colleagues not advance the new substitute, and instead that we return to a straight up or down clean vote on option 2.
In further discussion, Mr. Murphy, how many zoning cases have we had this year?
Well, that's funny. That's what Vice Chair Wisdom had asked me too, and I gave her a guesstimate. I went back and looked what we have had this year. That I can tell, we've had 12 zoning cases. I want to say last year we had between 15 and 20. But some of those have been some of those dates we've had multiple zoning cases on a single date. Maybe 2 or 3 at a time.
Commissioner Whisenhunt, I would ask you this question. Would you be willing to continue with the quarterly 6 o'clock meetings, and then the public hearings that we would have for zoning request, and then at the same meeting to allow for the public session? It's only going, any way you figure that, well, I didn't anticipate far enough before I came into the meeting today. So you can't always anticipate everything that's going on here. I'm asking you, will you consider the quarterly meetings at 6 o'clock, or just on a quarterly basis as we're currently doing, and adding whenever we have zoning to allow for public session on those meetings?
I will do that.
I'll agree to second the revised amended motion.
Okay, so you're accepting that change?
I am.
Okay.
So to summarize, what the motion is, the substitute motion is that we would continue to meet, we would follow our existing schedule, including the quarterly meetings, which is what we're doing. And then any time within a given month, we would have, if there's a rezoning hearing. Now, I do want to distinguish that between just, we have some public hearings on other matters. On a rezoning hearing, that we would actually have up to one a month to deal with rezoning.
If I may, my concern is probably the same concern as Chris's. I think the rezonings would just have to be noticed as a special hearing, I believe, or a special meeting.
Yeah, it would be a special meeting, to have special meetings for the hearing.
So it wouldn't automatically happen.
Right,
It would
correct.
have to be re-advertised or advertised as a special meeting
Right.
by the staff.
But there would be no more than once a month of a special meeting for the hearings. Yes, it would be advertised as a special meeting.
Yes.
And obviously, all the folks involved in the hearing would be aware because they're interested in the rezoning case.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
In further discussion, I would just mention, we have oftentimes heard from people in regard to public hearings on rezoning cases themselves that at times people that were interested in the zoning matters, the 6 o'clock time, it's easier for some of them to attend too, so maybe we would be accomplishing that as well.
Further discussion, I would reiterate my point that I'm afraid this will confuse the public. Secondly, that there are other public hearings that can from time to time draw a great deal of public interest. For example, an economic development incentive package. And we are unnecessarily limiting the public's opportunity to comment at public hearings that have other substantive community interest if we limit the additional evening hearing opportunities to just zoning cases.
Any other
It
discussion?
just seems to me that any way you count it, Commissioner Bessie, it seems like to me this is making more opportunity for citizens that wish to speak about whatever that they want to talk about. So,
If I may ask, Chris, in the past, with regards to our history, you said those zoning meetings are scheduled, is it once a month, or could they possibly be every month, or every other month, or?
Did you ever hear my discussion with Kyle? What I was telling Kyle was, and again, this is a board policy decision, but similarly to what happens in the city, basically, if you come out of the planning board, then you're going to the city council meeting about 6 weeks later.
Okay.
And from a predictability standpoint, it would, as far as planning on when the development community would come, it would be good to have a specific set aside date, knowing that that's when the zoning case would come to, as opposed to as we send something over to the board office and then it gets scheduled and then, but to answer your question, generally speaking, whenever, like the way the calendar works for the city council is whenever it comes out of the planning board, it goes to a date-specific time, and we've done a much better job in coming up with that calendar here over the last several years. But obviously, this is a policy decision. Staff can accommodate whatever needs to happen.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I would make one other comment. Whereas I can understand, looking for, all right, when do we really want to be sure that more of the public can comment on this, that, the other item, but I really don't see a single compelling reason that we shouldn't just have a monthly evening meeting. It's simple, it's predictable, the public knows what to expect. Most local governments in North Carolina do that. I think that we are risk tying ourselves up in confusing knots for no real gain.
So Commissioner Vesey, just so that you know, I am for the evening meetings once a month. I just wanted to vet out what the options were, that's all. Thank you.
I just want to, I've made this comment a number of times, but essentially, I think technology has changed the way people communicate, citizens with public officials. I think email is a very preferred form of that communication. And as I think about zoning issues, we hear a briefing of a zoning issue coming before us. After that happens, we start getting emails from those affected. Those are very helpful to me because then I have read them. I've gone to look at what the case was. I've had an opportunity to get clarification. And then by the time the hearing comes around, I've probably heard from a lot of people in that neighborhood already. And so, and we're going to, and if they're rarely, in fact, there is never, I can say at least in my experience, never been anything presented at the hearing that I had not already heard in an email from the very people affected in the neighborhoods from which that may be affected, from the area, the geographical area. So I'm not even, my preference is to leave it like it is. I think we get good, period, our meeting schedule, because I think we get good information. Quite frankly, 3 minutes or even 2 minutes, whatever it is, does not end up providing usually information that impacts decision-making for me. And I realize I'm speaking for me, and that's it. But if the belief is that for public hearings, that some people who really would like to say something on things that are affecting their neighborhoods, we could set aside and say, from a scheduling standpoint, we'll have up to one a month on the last Monday of the month, and it'll be available if it's needed. If we don't have any, we don't have a hearing. If we do, we advertise a special meeting to have a hearing, and it would be on that last Monday. That's very predictable, because our current schedule is not very predictable, because it schedules around. It's not like we meet on the first and third, or the second and the fourth Thursdays, because of meetings that we attend of various sorts, other events that occur, holidays, etc. Our schedule is never completely predictable like the fourth Thursday or the second Tuesday, or you name it. So it is going to be different, and you do have to look at the schedule that is posted online and people can look at it. So predictability, yeah, if I was going to do it for predictability, we would be doing things on, first and third Mondays and first and third Thursdays and stop. But we don't do that. We have something way more complicated than that already, and we've operated that way always. So I'm just, anyway, we have a substitute motion on the table to actually change, to have the hearings at night, and if it's, I'll ask our Commissioner, Vice Chair Wizenhunt, if she would agree that we would set aside a predictable last Monday of the month that would be available if there were hearings in that month. If not, we would not have a meeting.
Yeah.
And then if we could end up with 2 or 3 in a given evening. That could actually happen on a Monday night. It would be a special meeting. If you would accept that sort of additional specificity, I'd like to second that.
Okay, I'll accept.
Mr. Chairman, let me ask, are you then are you proposing to change the schedule so that briefings are on Thursday and meetings are on Monday?
No.
Well, you were referring to
I'm saying if I
last
have
Monday a month. So I think that with all respect for good intent, that what you're suggesting here even adds further to the confusion. I think I'm ready for an up or down vote on the substitute motion.
All right. Any other discussion? I want to make sure everyone's had a chance.
I just want to say that most county commissioner boards in North Carolina only meet once a month. I certainly hope we're not going to try to imitate that.
All right. With all that said, we have a substitute motion. Just to remind everybody, the substitute motion is to leave the schedule as it is, including quarterly night meetings, and actually add to that a set aside, maybe it could be a date to be determined of once a month, that on a given day that's predictable, last Monday, last Wednesday, whatever it is, a day, so that planning department can actually schedule. And then if we have something scheduled, we would have it at 6 p.m. If there were no hearings, we would not have one, and it would be, the next available time would be the following month. With that being said, all those in favor of that substitute motion, say aye. Aye. Those opposed?
No.
Motion fails 4-3. All right. Now we're back to the original option 2 motion from Commissioner Bessie, seconded by Commissioner McDaniel. Any further discussion?
Yes. We have had some, I want y'all listen carefully now. We have had some public sessions this year that the decorum was not good at all. Some of it was directed at several of us. Could have been most of it directed at me. And it may be Mr. Wilson, you escaped it. I don't know. You escaped any criticism, and that's good. Particularly to say that for a lawyer, not to get no criticism. So, but that was warranted. With all this, I shouldn't even consider what I'm considering, Commissioner Bessie, because a lawyer is made for argument, and you know how to do that. You know how to do it nicely. And when I argue about something, I can't do it very nicely. But I will commend you for that. You were probably going to get as many public sessions as what maybe ended up with here. But some of the decorum has been bad, real bad. And what I'm going to do is, and I'm going to support this motion, the once a month. And Mr. Attorney, if the board at any time wishes to change its meeting schedule, can it not do so?
I believe on appropriate motions, it can amend its meeting schedule.
I'm going to support this, but if we continue to have some of this bad decorum, and I think about everybody agrees with it, maybe you don't want to nod your head, that's okay. But if we begin to have some of that, I'm going to come back and I'm going to try to change what we may happen here to back to what we were the quarterly. Now, some of this decorum we've had, it is not, it's just uncalled for. And Commissioner McDaniel, you've had about as much of it as I had. The only reason you hadn't had more is because you hadn't been here quite as long. So that's where I'm at. Now, if you don't think I'm going to do that, the first time it happens, people's got a right to say whatever they want to say, but just coming in and people think it's a right now. I watch plenty of news. I probably watch more of it than most. I watch more of it than I need to, but the reason I watch is to see what's going on and come up to my own conclusions. I don't have to be indoctrinated by it. I just come up to my own conclusions. But the way the political world has got, and it's gradually gets worse. People thinks it is the right to just talk about things within reason. That's fine, but political officials are not there just so people can condemn them and just say really bad things. It's just not a need for it. But if it happens here, I'm going to come back and try to go back to the 4 public sessions a month. 4 a year, every quarter.
Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
No.
No. Motion carries 5-2. All righty. Next item on the agenda is a resolution adopting rules of procedure, Forsyth County Board of Commissioners, and you received our county attorney rewrote part of this to reflect our meeting schedule, by the way, which will now require a slight modification to reflect the previous action. And And the only thing I'd like to ask all of you just to sort of agree with is item 7. Item 7 really gets at the issue of 3 minutes communication, because we've had some discussion, particularly our public hearing, for example, lasted 3.5, 4 hours for the budget. And we had 3-minute timelines, and there was some discussion about that, about it could be less. And I think the example was given is that the Board of Education had actually gone to some 1 minute, kind of limits. But what this item 7 is 3 minutes, but it actually says, it has a caveat, if there are a large number of speakers supporting or opposing the same position, they should appoint a spokesman. In its discretion, the board may vote to extend the length of the public comment period or to change the time allotted for each speaker. It is expected that speakers shall behave in a manner in keeping with the decorum of a formal meeting. Speakers or audience members who disrupt the meeting will be required to leave. It speaks at some of the issues that Mr. Linville was speaking to, as well as the flexibility to make adjustments. Just want to make sure everybody's good with that as it is. I'm fine with it, but I just wanted to call that particular item to everyone's attention. So with the exception of adjusting for the monthly evening meeting, with that exception, that would be added into this. In fact, I think, I won't go find the spot, but I think we could approve it as to be consistent with the previous motion. And so we don't have to come back and do this again. So is there a motion to approve the rules of procedure for Scythe County Board of Commissioners?
I do have a question for clarification. So essentially, the public comments are 3 minutes, except for under certain circumstances that
Yes, that's
we would.
yeah,
Okay.
within the board's discretion at a
Okay.
certain given time.
I move approval.
We have a motion by Vice Chair Wizenhut. Is there a second? We have a second from, did you say? Commissioner Wilson, seconded. Any discussion?
Yes, so I know, of all people, I can't believe that I'm talking about decorum after how I've been treated over the years, but I have thick skin. I signed up for this. I wanted to know what does behave in a manner and who makes the decision that the decorum is out of order. And with regards to the speakers, when they are disruptive and they're required to leave, is that a vote that is counted amongst this board, or does the chairman make that decision? And I say this because I never want, I mean, we all have a right to speak. You know, that's our God-given rights. And I never want to keep anybody from speaking. But I do agree that we have to have some type of decorum, but I just wanted to make sure that the process is in decency and in order, if that makes
I think
sense.
the way I think about it is that essentially, we have a right to free speech, and people can say what they want to say, and they can say critical things if they want to say them. I think when threatening language is used, I think with stepping, from behind the podium going forward, I think those kind of behaviors that suggest violence may be ready to erupt. I think that's why we have security at our meetings, and I think that probably falls under the realm of certainly we've had a lot, in fact, on this board, we've already had a lot of different people here that have been chairman, and I think it would be the chairman to say, to actually call security to come forward to escort a person away should that happen. I think there's not an intent that decorum is an interference with free speech. I think if it's coupled with violent threats and other kinds of things, which is certainly in the mind of the person making that decision. But I'd like to think that any one of us would. It's kind of like if you saw it. It's kind of like the judge that said, pornography when you see it. I think we'd all probably agree if we saw some really egregious behavior and would be able to say that. Other comments?
Well, before I leave, I would say that I voted for you to be chairman, and I just ask for you to be mindful when it comes to the diversity of this community. Many of us speak differently. Our voices are different, our tones are different, the words that we use are different, and we can't jump to conclusions just because individuals are sharing their thoughts and their rights of their opinions. Now, I do agree that if somebody is moving forward or threatening, then you need to address that, but I just ask you to be mindful in the future. Thank you.
I would just say that, and I invite our attorney or fellow attorney, Commissioner Gray, to add their experience if it's different. I've seen a lot of public meeting bodies over the years. This is a fairly standard provision in my recollection, and examples of things that I think would be counted here would be someone coming forward to the podium and using it as an opportunity to turn and exhort the room to some disruptive behavior, like chanting that doesn't stop, or stepping forward and as you say, using threatening language. Or audience members without, being recognized as speaking to interrupt and continue to interrupt in a disruptive way. This kind of provision has to be interpreted with kind of a common sense clause, and normally is, but in the worst case scenario, if it's overused by a given person in the chair at a given time, that's subject to challenge by the other members of the board. And in a case of a majority vote, can overrule that chair at that time in deciding that a behavior was out of line.
Other discussion?
Well, I think I would second what Commissioner Bessie just said, simply to reinforce it. Over the past year, having been a new commissioner, I have observed a level of incivility and abusive, disruptive behavior, which is not typical of what one finds even in our court system, and sometimes a level of irrationality, which is challenging even to comprehend. But I do think that the gatekeeper here would initially need to be our chair. But if there is some disagreement with that among the other members of the commission, I think the commission as a body then would have to act to try to determine whether or not to terminate the behavior or handle it in some other manner. So, given that, I'm prepared, to vote for the rules that we have currently before us, with the understanding that we can't detail every single procedure that might be adopted under any number of circumstances that we might find offensive.
Sir, in anticipation of this discussion, Gordon asked me to review two cases, one from the Court of Appeals and one from federal district court. And the takeaway from those two cases is that the rules of procedures really can't be interpreted to prohibit disrespectful or even vulgar speech from members of the audience and members participating in public comment. I think that's completely consistent with what you said earlier and about speech that tends towards violence, and what Mr. Bessie has said, and what Commissioner Wilson has said. But I did promise Gordon I would say that if this discussion arose.
Okay. Anything else? We're ready to vote. Yes. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. All right. Next item on the agenda is a resolution renewing bonds for various Forsyth County officials.
Move approval.
We have a motion by Vice Chair Wizenhunt. Second by Commissioner Bessie. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. That actually completes the organizational business, and we'll move to, we have two special resolutions. The first is a resolution opposing federal and state legislation allowing for increased truck weight and length on interstate highways, state routes, and local roads. Is there a motion?
I'll move approval, Mr. Chair.
Motion by Commissioner Bessie,
Second.
second by Commissioner McDaniel. Any discussion?
Yes, sir. What, some information that I know about this seemed to have, it arose from some retail companies somehow got involved in it, and as you pointed out, Mr. Chairman, a while, 2-3 weeks back when we talked about this, that there were lobbyists involved in it as well, and so some of what it talks about, primarily weight, length, and number of trailers that a truck can pull. And in North Carolina, they do allow doubles on certain roads, primarily on interstates, but some other main roads. And in some 12 or 13 states, that western states that pull the 3 trailers, and I guess the reason they don't hear because in other states, the states restricted that. And most of the federal regulations that's in place now, or at least some of them, the main ones, the state of North Carolina goes by that weight primarily, and no more than pulling the double trailers. As far as transportation regulations in regard to trucks, the state of North Carolina, if it wants to restrict something that is in place by the federal regulations, can it do so?
I think the federal regulations would trump the state regulations.
Such as well, it's just, it's hard for me to tell what it's all about, but I'm not going to support this because of how I believe that it arose, and if the state needs to, what the state has in place now, I don't see them changing it anyway. And if they did, I would look, if North Carolina did, I would look at that closely if it was something that I didn't think it was safe, then I would oppose it. But this is about, I'm not convinced it's arose and talked about safety, but I'm not convinced that that's all the reason for it. I'm just not going to oppose it, but what the state of North Carolina has in weight restrictions and what the number of trailers that trucks are allowed to pull seems to be fairly safe. And for the ones that may not know as to why double trailers were, I don't know how many years now they've been using them. They used the single trailers for many years, and the regular length on them is up to a 53-foot trailer. And the short trailers are 2 different sizes of them, 28 feet each, I believe. The reason that they come up with that concept is They are not normally overloaded. It was just to get more volume, to carry more volume, but would not carry no more than the 80,000 pound gross weight. So I think there's misconception by many about that. So I'm just not going to support this, but I do what regulations the state of North Carolina has in regard to big trucks, I think is reasonable and safe. So that's where I am on it.
Mr. Bessie.
Certainly, this is the kind of issue on which reasonable minds can differ. But the reason the two reasons that I, after being graciously given additional time to study the question, am persuaded that this is still a timely resolution. The two reasons are that, as our attorney said, that if the federal government, if Congress or an empowered federal agency says this is what will be allowed on interstate, that will trump anything that North Carolina says to the contrary. So there is the federal preemption authority that we are at risk of seeing in this kind of case. And secondly, I believe that regardless of the weight versus volume question that you've reasonably brought up, that having the extra hitch makes the whole vehicle as attached more subject to jackknifing, situations where you hit a slick spot and part of it starts to go sideways. If an irresponsible driver in a car or small truck zips in front of them, they have to try to brake quickly. It's more likely to go into a jackknife motion. I think it's a real additional safety concern that it's already greater with the doubles. If we get going on longer ones or triples, that's going to multiply the problem that in an unnecessary way.
Any other discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
No.
Motion carries 6-1. The next item on the agenda is a resolution committing to housing availability, housing choices, and the elimination of barriers to housing by the city of Winston-Salem and Forsyth County, a joint resolution, if you will, each adopting the same resolution. Do we have a motion?
Move to approve.
We have a motion by Commissioner McDaniel to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
I have a second by Commissioner Woodbury. How about discussion?
I just need to ask a question, and Lord knows I forget a lot of stuff, and if I have, tell me. Have we approved Forward 2045?
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
we did.
Thank you, I had forgotten that. I don't remember when we did it.
It was a few months back, a couple months back.
Okay. Thank you.
Other discussion? Yes.
That was quite a reasonable question. It took us a long time. We went and discussed this from time to time. I'm going to vote for the motion because I carefully read and reread the specific language of the resolution. I think it's reasonable. I'm one of those who had been concerned about making any appearance that we're making increasing housing supply the sort of the leader amongst theoretical equals. There are a number of, I think, equally critical points that we need to continue to emphasize, one of which is recognizing the adverse consequences of some poorly planned growth and failing to protect the environment that protects us, water quality, sufficient tree cover, And so the need to take that into account as a mitigating factor to simply throwing all the rules out the window and saying, build more density everywhere you can by whatever rules you can eliminate. I don't think this language says that. So I'm comfortable voting for it as it's written.
Other discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Next item on the agenda is approval of the minutes for the meeting November the 20th, 2025. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Motion approved by Commissioner Bessie.
Second.
Second by Commissioner McDaniel. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Motion carries unanimously. Madam Clerk, do we have any calls or cards for the public session?
Mr. Chairman, we have 3 cards.
All right.
The first speaker is Suzanne Eppermanis. Please come forward, state your name and address for the record.
Thank you, and good afternoon. My name is Suzanne Eppermanis. I'm at 204 Canterbury Trail in Winston-Salem, 27104. And I would like to say thank you. Thank you to all of you for your deliberations, for your careful and thoughtful consideration of the meeting schedule. I know we've been around and around. You've gotten emails from me over the last couple of years. You've gotten emails from other folks in the community. And I just really want to thank you and offer just a few high-level reflections and observations. So basically, I'm kind of winging this, but I know that Chairman Martin will cut me off if I've rambled past 3 minutes. So thank you for that. And thank you also for your response to my email. I think the vote today has been significant, not only on a practical level, but also a very philosophical level. And I'll come back and elaborate a little bit more on that, but I also want to just acknowledge the very real concerns on the part of several of you regarding decorum and incivility. I, too, decry the lack of good manners. That is what it is, and it, I think, underlies hurt and anger that hasn't yet been heard. So, and we all know what it is like to feel hurt or to feel angry. I'm sorry, I get very emotional sometimes when I feel like I'm saying something that is meaningful. So let me just take a deep breath. To Commissioner Wisenhunt, I love your point about, attendance. Part of me, when I look at deliberative bodies like this, is I look at the process and I think, well, what is their decision criteria that they're using to make their decisions? And are they using the same criteria? I would say that based anecdotally on the evening meetings that I've attended, less than you have sat in on, but there's been very strong attendance, very often standing room only. So if meeting attendance were going to be a decision-making criteria, I would suggest that maybe from a process standpoint, we ask city or county staff in this instance to start measuring attendance as a metric. I'm not for 1 second saying we should do that, but again, kind of coming up to the higher level of process and having conversations about what will we use to make our decisions and what will be the criteria. So let me stay out of the weeds. Philosophically, I think what you have all done, and I'm so glad to see this, is you have opened up participation. You've opened up the opportunity, regardless of whether people start packing the room and we have to build a bigger room. I would love for that to happen, but you've opened up the participation opportunity. And for those of you who are here on March 13th of this year when we had our first quarter evening meeting, I remember one of the most powerful moments was when those 2 little girls stood up with their mother to talk about what was happening with the Transco pipeline and why they were concerned about that. That sort of thing is not going to come through when somebody's calling in on a phone call or sending even the best crafted letter that elicits a lovely response. So those are powerful learning moments. And the connection, this is my final point. When I was a teenager, this thought just occurred to me. When I was a teenager, I was a township commissioner for the day in Swedera Township in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. I was a teenager. Little did I know or realize that back then an evening meeting allowed me to say, hey, this stuff is cool. This stuff is important. It is not dry, it's not boring, it's not just for the nerds. This is something that everybody has a stake in. So I thank you for what you've done, and thank you for your time today.
The next speaker is Keenan Altick. Please come forward, state your name and address for the record.
Keenan Altick, 413 Granville Drive. I have comments on housing and wastewater treatment for electric generation. But before that, I need to address funding because ultimately that is what does whatever will happen. The county commission, they are members, or I should say the Forsyth County government and as the commission, members of Greater Winston-Salem Incorporated, which lobbies on the state legislative agenda in Raleigh. That makes what happens in the state legislature relevant to this county commission. I'm sure this commission is aware that Greater Winston-Salem Incorporated has supported the phase-out of corporate tax in North Carolina. Earlier this year, Governor Josh Stein was an honored guest at Greater Winston-Salem's State of the Economy address at the Benton Convention Center, in which he and the members all congratulated one another on their shared agenda. The local Democrats here would have the people believe they are restricted by the state legislature, but the fact is they all join in the same agenda as Republicans and have moved to the right of Ronald Reagan in embracing trickle-down entrepreneurs, exploiting the value from the work everyone else is hired to do. 77% of North Carolina opposes corporate tax phase-out, yet we have Greater Winston-Salem Business Incorporated against the people of North Carolina. This is the reason every policy that comes forward in practice is such that affordability cannot be achieved. Many claim the 600 Peters Creek Parkway Initiative Housing with Shalom project is a good example of affordable housing. It uses the same LIHTC policies that have not worked in Raleigh, Charlotte, and on and on. Rent cap is not assigned proportional to particular household income, which means the Peters Creek housing will only be capped at $900. Everyone is saying they support housing should be affordable, but they are not telling you what the policy actually means. In the agenda today, there was a housing item making very general statements in support of access to affordable housing, but I still see nothing defining what affordable really means. This is not a supply and demand issue. It is an issue of private landlords price gouging people. There are many units open for rent throughout the city and county, $800 to $1,200 a month. Earlier this year was the Triad Housing Summit, in which one presentation featured info on different jobs and what rent would be affordable. $650 for line cooks, $750 for CNAs. It's clear the interest of Greater Winston-Salem Incorporated is to disregard the economic facts of the working class in this city. My own home only costs $300 in maintenance over time every month, yet I see units all over this city around $1,000. This isn't a supply, I said, it is not a supply and demand issue. It's just the dictatorship of capital over the well-being of workers. This city and county should be using its connections to the county commissions across the state lines to lobby state legislatures to even the corporate tax rates across all jurisdictions such that we can afford to have the government engage in actual productive activity in the economy like housing and wastewater treatment, electric generation. Thank you.
The last speaker is Marcy West. Please come forward, state your name and address for the record.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Marcy West, 331 Carolina Circle, Winston-Salem, also a candidate for County Commissioner in District B. I do want to thank you all for your vote on the meeting schedule. I know not all of you voted for the meeting schedules once a month, but that does provide some predictability and gives people the opportunity to speak. The other thing is, as one of the previous speakers stated, emails are not seen by the public. The public comment is not just for the commissioners. Public comment is also for the public that is watching these meetings. There is a lot of public interest and you get many emails. No one knows that. But if there are a lot of people in the room and they're speaking, maybe they don't change your mind, but the public can hear that there's actually a concern about those issues. So I do think that's good. I also actually suggest that it would be a wonderful idea to track who comes to these meetings. I have noticed that the evening meetings have many more people attending them than the daytime meetings. And I've been coming to both, almost all of them, all year. So I have seen a difference. But if you don't track it, you don't know. So tracking metrics is always a great thing. The decorum issue, very concerning. One thing that could be done that would be very easy is to just do a simple statement at the beginning of the meeting. I've seen that done at the Department of Education, where they will say, you know, the Board of Education will just say, please just address the chair, please be respectful. You know, some of those basic comments. There are people who come and make comments that they're not familiar with speaking in these public meetings. And so just giving them some guidance can be helpful. I do want to thank you also for voting yes on the housing resolution. Affordable housing and availability of affordable housing is so, so important. And it's not just a city issue, it is a county issue as well. It's a nationwide issue, and I'm glad to see that you're supporting that. The other thing, I know that you're getting ready to speak, to do your planning for next year, and I do want to speak about getting you to consider some areas that we need. So affordable and available childcare is a really, really important issue. It's something that is supported by Greater Winston-Salem, by the downtown community, and by residents. It's something that's really needed that can help us to grow economically. It gives people the opportunity to go out and work. If they don't have childcare, they can't go and work. So I would really love to see you actually take that into account and figure out a way that you can support the community on that issue. So I want to thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
All righty, Madam County Manager, please continue.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Agenda item number 10 is a resolution authorizing Quantum Merowit payment to EMSL Analytical, Inc. and Stryker Sales, LLC. This item would allow payments of invoices from previous fiscal years. Item A is in the amount of $250.80, and item B is a total amount of $676.24.
Do we have a motion?
Move approval.
We have a motion to approve by Vice Chair Wizenhut. Second by Commissioner Bessie. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Agenda item number 11 is an amendment to the fiscal year 26 budget ordinance to appropriate $107,956 of surplus proceeds to the Motor Vehicle and Mobile Equipment Subfund. This appropriates auction proceeds from the sale of vehicles to emergency services, sheriff's office, and general services.
Move approval.
We have a motion by Vice Chair Wizenhut. Second by Commissioner Wilson. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Agenda item number 12 is a resolution approving purchase of turnout gear from MES Life Safety LLC by Forsyth County Emergency Medical Services, Division of Forsyth County Emergency Services. This replaces turnout gear that has reached its 10-year service life and sets for new employees an unforeseen incidents in a total not to exceed amount of $369,491.74.
Move approval.
Motion approved by Commissioner Bessie.
Second.
Second by Vice Chair Wizenhut. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Agenda item number 13 is a resolution awarding and authorizing execution of a purchase order to Nashville Automotive LLC, doing business as Sierra Chevrolet Buick GMC, for the purchase of 3 new 2026 Chevrolet 2500 crew cab trucks. These vehicles are for fire services and the sheriff's office in the amount of $51,165 per unit for a total not to exceed of $153,495.
Do we have a motion?
Move approval.
Motion to approve by Vice Chair Wizenhut.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Linville. Is there any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Agenda item number 14 is a resolution awarding and authorizing execution of a contract to MWM Construction, Inc. for the Piedmont Propulsion Structural Infill Project. This is a project at the airport in a total amount not to exceed $1,100,768, and also authorizes the county manager to sign change orders in an amount not to exceed $150,000. There were questions about this from Commissioner Woodbury on Monday, and that information was emailed to the board yesterday and more today.
Move approval.
Motion to approve by Vice Chair Wizenhut.
Second.
Second by Commissioner McDaniel. Any discussion?
I do just want to make a couple of points just for the record. So I think what would be absolutely helpful when it comes to the MWB participation, just to make sure that we have any of the affidavit forms or the core forms required for good faith effort. It was sort of confusing to me to figure out what was going on with the company that ultimately won the bid, and in lieu of a 10% goal and a company only committing to 1.1%, I think just adding as much evidence as possible to help us to understand better how the committee that's made up of the city and county came to the conclusion that in lieu of not meeting the goal, they have met good faith effort. You know, it was, you know, for me, just lacking detailed, good information. For example, I know that I asked in the request to disaggregate the MWB participation, meaning what were the categories, and there is a specific identification of minority participation form that goes along with good faith effort that the company, at least I didn't get that information, did that. They appeared to list the companies, but there was no identification of the category of whether it's a woman-based firm, Black, Hispanic, et cetera, that can be listed in one of the core forms. But to me, that would be helpful, but it's very disappointing to see only a 1.1% commitment.
Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? No. Motion carries 6-1. Thank you.
Agenda item number 15 is a resolution authorizing the grant and execution of a utility easement to Duke Energy Carolinas LLC to construct and access utility infrastructure across a portion of Forsyth County-owned real property located at 201 North Chestnut Street. This would provide service to the county's new electric vehicle charging stations.
Move to approve.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Linville.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Bessie. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Agenda item number 16 is a second reading on an ordinance awarding franchises for residential and small business solid waste collection, transportation, and disposal services, and adding optional recycling services in unincorporated areas of Forsyth County. This would authorize franchise agreements with ABC Garbage, Inc., Waste Industries USA, LLC, doing business as GFL Environmental, Inc., and Rural Garbage Services, Inc., beginning January 1st, 2026 through December 31st, 2028, with two optional two-year renewal periods.
Do we have a motion?
Move approval.
Motion to approve by Vice Chair Wizenhut. Is there a second? Second by Commissioner Bessie. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Agenda item number 17 is a resolution extending the year 2026 tax listing period. This would extend the listing period for 14 additional days, which would end February 16th, 2026.
Move to approve.
Motion approved by Commissioner Linville.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Bessie. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Agenda item number 18 is the September Human Resources Report.
Do you have a motion?
Move approval.
Motion approved by Vice Chair Wizenhut. Happy to second. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
I'm going to turn agenda item number 19 over to you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much. We have a person that's getting ready to retire, and I'd like to ask him to come forward. Thank you, Gary Kuntz. And Gary, by the way, is our director of MIS Service, Management Information Services, and it's one of those things that all of us, when everything's working right, we don't know who Gary is. But when things are not working right, we certainly do know who he is. And fortunately, there haven't been many of those times we had every conversation. But I'd like to, in fact, I'm going to read the resolution and come down and give it to you. I'll just do it that way. This is a proclamation recognizing the accomplishments of Gary Kuntz and the occasion of his retirement as Chief Information Officer. Whereas Gary Kuntz began his career with Forsyth County Management Information Services, MIS in the future, on March 13, 1993 as a Unix local area network analyst. And he has ably served the citizens of Forsyth County for over 32 years. Whereas Gary Kuntz served in many roles throughout his career to include the MIS Local Area Network Analyst 2, MIS Interoperability Manager, the MIS Networking Manager, the Senior IT Networking Manager, the Deputy Chief Information Officer, and the Chief Technology Officer and Chief Information Officer. Whereas Gary Kuntz has played a key role in expanding computer network technologies, beginning with 8 team members, 8 single-digit team members, and fewer than 100 computers in Forsyth County government. Whereas because of Gary Kuntz's background in education, he transformed how Forsyth County government serves its citizens in an efficient manner. And whereas Gary Kuntz is academically accomplished with a Bachelor of Science in Computer Information Systems from Cedarville University in Cedarville, Ohio, and received the James S. Cooper Award twice for his work with other county government agencies. Now therefore be it proclaimed that the Forsyth County Commissioners hereby recognize the exemplary service and accomplishments of Gary Kuntz and thank him for his outstanding and distinguished service to the state of North Carolina and the citizens of Forsyth County on this 4th day of December 2025. I'll make that motion. Is there a second? Second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. And you're going to be hard to replace, and I know the county manager is working very hard at that. Stay still, I'll come down and hand you the plaque.
Gary, I really did not want to vote for that. It's okay. I told him I did not want to vote for that motion.
Get a better picture. We're going to have a reception right after. We have one briefing zoning matter, and then we're going to step outside, and we'll look forward to visiting a little bit more.
Thank you.
And see more pictures of your grandkids.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Gary, did you want to say a few words?
I'm kind of a man of few words, but thank you guys for supporting me over the years. It's been home. It's been a fantastic place to work, and I care deeply about the staff and citizens of this county, and I thank you for giving me the opportunity to serve.
I just want to say, if I may, that I have for the past 30-plus years of personal computer use, maintained that the internet is run by interdimensional gremlins whose ways I do not understand, and I thank you for being available to help whenever I lose a wrestling match with one of those gremlins. Good.
Thank you, Gary.
Have our reception shortly, and in between the reception is Chris Murphy.
Seems to be the way it always goes, right? I don't think this will be too difficult of a briefing. This is a rezoning request of the Keystone Group for a 0.73 acre piece of property located at the southeast intersection of Wahlberg Landing Drive and Overline Drive. And the request is to rezone from HBS to RM8S. And this is right literally on the county line. This is the county's Forward 2045 Growth Management Plan map. You see the dot located there. It's in an activity adjacent and into an activity center, again, right on the county line. This is the subject property highlighted in yellow. You see the RM18S to the north and east, the north and the west. And the subject property is currently zoned HBS. The developer of this project, which is the Keystone Group, did both the commercial and the apartment complex at the same time. This was rezoned back in 2001. So this property has been vacant for that amount of time. You will see through some photos that everything else out there is developed. And what they are asking to do with this rezoning request is to rezone this vacant piece of property to multifamily to allow for a 12-unit multifamily building to be constructed at Wahlberg Landing, which is the apartment complex. That's the subject property outlined in yellow on the countywide aerial imagery. Again, you see that there all the area is developed. There is a commercial shopping center, there's a McDonald's, the commercial shopping center has a gas station with it, and then everything else is multifamily to the west and northwest. The subject property in the area plan recommends commercial, but that is a recognition of the HBS zoning that is in place. Again, it is adjacent to multifamily developed by the same developer, so even though it does have a different recommendation, staff does believe this is consistent with the plan since it's all owned by the same entity. This is looking east along Wahlberg Landing Drive. The subject property is to the right. You see the gas canopy there in the background. This is looking west along Wahlberg Landing Drive. The subject property is to the left. You see the rooftops of a apartment building in the background, and then over to the right you see the dumpster enclosure for the McDonald's. This is looking at the McDonald's from the subject property. And this is looking to the south along Overline Drive. That leads into Davidson County. It leads to the shopping center directly to the south. This is the overall plan. The parcel in question is right here. This is a blow-up of that area that shows the apartment building. Again, it's a 12-unit building, architecturally similar to the other buildings that are out there as part of the complex. In summary, the proposal prioritizes density, a diversity of uses, and connectivity in an area already served by existing infrastructure. The project would redevelop an underutilized commercial property and reuse an existing parking lot. The proposal would create additional housing units in this growing area. This was heard by the Planning Board at their November meeting. There were no speakers in opposition, and following the public hearing, the Planning Board did vote unanimously to recommend approval of this to the commissioners. And with that, I'm glad to answer any questions.
Any questions for Chris?
Brief comment. I think this is exactly the kind of thing we can do to increase housing without adverse environmental impacts. This is ideal.
Just as an FYI, Kirk will be briefing this at your next commissioner's briefing session, and he will be at the night meeting on the 18th. I will be on vacation for Christmas, so just giving you a heads up.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we stand adjourned.